Hi guys, so I am here in my kitchen, and for me, my kitchen, or almost any kitchen, is a place of refuge. I know it's not this way for everyone, but I love to cook. I find cooking to be super therapeutic and meditative and just a place where I can create freely. There's nothing quite like the feeling of making something and serving it to people that I love and having them actually enjoy it. So a couple years ago, though, as a designer and a mom of three, I found myself desperately needing a reset, not just creatively, but mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you name it. And being in the kitchen was a place where I could kind of kill two birds with one stone and have this wonderful creative outlet, but simultaneously know that I was making food to feed myself and my family. As a part of the reset that I needed, I underwent a healing process to try to minimize the autoimmune reactions that I was having in my body. And I worked with a wonderful functional nutritionist, it's a mouthful, who really got me rethinking about the ways that I was cooking and the ingredients that I was putting into my body and what those ingredients were doing, the reactions that I was having, both positive and negative. So that whole process really launched me into a project that I've been working on for a couple years. And in those last couple years, I have been avoiding social media as much as possible, but working on this project has encouraged me to get back on the horse and share some recipes. The recipe I'm going to share today is for goji berry pancakes. And the reason that it's appropriate that this be the first recipe that I share is two-sided. One being that I found that I was craving comfort foods, and pancakes were something I always wanted in the morning, and I needed to figure out how I could make them in a way that I was using ingredients that wouldn't cause inflammatory reactions in my body. And simultaneously, I have some picky eaters. It took me 3 kids to figure out how to raise a child that was not a picky eater. My son, my oldest son, I found that he would eat just about any ingredient if it were in pancake form. So I started to develop all of these recipes for different types of pancakes using ingredients that were loaded with nutrients that he didn't normally get in the foods that he was eating over and over and over again on repeat. So these goji berry pancakes I love, especially this time of year, because they taste like fall. They have lots of warming spices. They're actually orange in color because of the goji berries, and they're loaded with nutrients. I love them if you can do butter with salted butter on top and maple syrup, just like a classic pancake. They do have eggs in them, so if you're a vegan, this is not the recipe for you, but I will be sharing a lot more recipes that are vegan in the future. But they are completely grain-free and very easy to make dairy-free. In fact, I'm gonna show you how to make them dairy-free today. What I love to do is make a big batch of these and keep them in my fridge, and they'll last me a few mornings if I'm just feeding my kids for school. So I like to make these ahead. But let me know how you guys like them, and I hope that you'll find them as delicious as we do in our house. Enjoy.
First, I'm going to make my milk mixture in a high-powered blender, and I'm going to mix together 1 cup of non-dairy milk. You could use whatever type you prefer, 1/4 cup of dried goji berries, and 1 banana. I'm going to start to blend that on a low speed and then slowly increase the speed to high to make sure that the goji berries are completely pureed and I'm left with a really bright reddish orange milk. I forgot to put in my vanilla extract, so I'm going to stop to add in 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. The higher quality, the better. And once that's blended in, I'm going to set aside my goji milk mixture to whisk together all of my dry ingredients in a large mixing bowl. I'm using 1/2 cup of almond flour, 1/2 cup of cassava flour, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, followed by a lot of spices. I've got 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of fine sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cardamom, and if you have it, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. They're all optional, but I'd recommend them, whatever you have. And then whisk it all together. Then I'm going to pour in my milk mixture and start whisking that in. I did not sift my flour first, so I'm just going to have to make sure that I whisk my mixture together really well to get all of the clumps broken up. But if you want to sift first, it would definitely help you in that process. Once that batter is completely whisked together, I'm going to add in 2 eggs. You can always beat these first, but I'm just adding them directly, and I'm going to make sure that I get all of the whites and yolks completely whisked into the batter. And then I'm going to start making my pancakes. So my stovetop has a skillet in it, but you can absolutely use a frying pan or a cast iron skillet, whatever you have. And I've melted 1 tablespoon of coconut oil on it at medium heat. I did a tester pancake that I didn't show you just to make sure that my skillet was heated up appropriately first. You want to make sure that it's really hot before you put a full batch on, and I feel like that first pancake is always a trial run. You never know how it's gonna go. So I'd recommend doing a test pancake before you do a full batch. I used about 1/4 cup to 1/3 cup of batter for each of these, and I'm testing the bottom to make sure it's golden brown. Once it gets a decent bit of bubbles on it coming through, I go ahead and I flip those, and I'm gonna let them cook for about another 3 minutes. I've fast forwarded this so you don't have to watch that. And then I'm gonna do a second batch. For each batch, I'm adding another tablespoon of coconut oil, and then I'm going to make sure that's heated up and spread around before I put my batter back on the skillet. This recipe makes about 12 pancakes. So if I am serving a crowd or I'm making a big batch of batter ahead of time, I like to double it, but I just went for 12 today. It's a good serving for my family and my kids. So I'm basically going to do the same thing I did with the first batch. I've put about 1/4 to 1/3 cup of batter on the skillet for each pancake, and then I'm going to wait until the bottom is golden brown and bubbles are popping through to the top before I flip them. They're going to cook for about 3 minutes on each side. I want to make sure that they're completely cooked through before I stack them up for serving. I love to serve these with salted butter if you have it and can eat it, and drizzle it with a really high quality maple syrup. I'm also going to garnish these with goji berries today. My daughter loves to eat dried goji berries. I personally don't love to eat them plain. I like to use them in recipes to sweeten them, but give them a try, and I hope that you will enjoy the pancakes.